Hey everybody, this is Mr. Horton with a series of video backup lessons for Studio Art 1, Studio Art 2, and film appreciation and cinematography. Verney Arts, Iona Prep. Hey guys, Mr. Horton here. This is film analysis. We're about to start going through Avengers Endgame. So the way this is going to work is in class, I'm going to walk you guys through a slew of slides about the making of Endgame. Okay? We're going to, after the movie, take a test, which is going to be launched through Google Classroom. It's going to be done in Google Forms. It's open note. Okay? On top of that, I'm going to link to the test the PowerPoint I'm going through that has all the slides. So when you're taking the test, if you don't want to take handwritten notes, you can just have the PowerPoint open in one window and then have the test open in another window, and you can kind of go one-to-one. To make it even easier, I actually have next to each fact, you're going to see an X. If it's a green X, it's on the test. If it's a red X, it's not. Skip it. Okay? The only thing that you need to know going into the test is you have to have some sort of general sense of the storyline of the movie. Okay? Nothing crazy, because I'm going to ask you like a handful of story questions at the end of the test. Again, everything's open note. All right? So, to recap, we're going to go through the slides in class. You guys eventually, after we watch the movie, which I'm going to give you guys a conduct grade on, just double check you're watching it. Just make sure your camera's on, you're watching it. Okay? It's not freeze screen stuff. All right, so I'm going to give you a conduct grade. After we watch the movie, I'm going to launch the test. You guys are going to have like probably 2 days to do it, all right, and send it back to me, all right, and that's going to count as a project grade. Now, if you want to take my senior film class, which is this project blown out into 18 movies, but it's a little bit more technical with terminology, all right, if you want to get into that class, you have to do good on this test, which shouldn't be a problem because it's so easy, okay? But I see that, but you guys always surprise me with people doing bad on these things, okay? So here's the PowerPoint. I'm going to walk you guys through it right now, all right? And then I'm going to do this in class also. This is pretty much just here as a backup. And like I said, just try to have a general sense of the storyline of the movie. Besides that, if you have any questions, email me. Here's the slides. All right, this is Avengers Endgame. Release date was 4/29/2019. Budget, $356 million. Domestic gross, $858 million. Worldwide gross, $2.796 billion. Genre, action, adventure, science fiction, collective superhero film. Produced by Marvel Studios. Directed by the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony Russo. Russo brothers bio. They famously directed the paintball episodes of NBC's Community, which are the fan favorite episodes of that show. Their filmography. They did a forgettable film called You, Me, and Dupree in 2006. They went right into Captain America Winter Soldier in 2014. They did Captain America Civil War in 2016. They did Avengers Infinity War in 2018. Filming staples. Number 1, ensemble casts. So big casts. Number 2, gray color palette. Number 3, putting the cast of Community in their films. Written by Chris Marcus and Stephen McFeely. Both of these guys together wrote the Chronicles of Narnia films, Captain America the First Avenger, Thor Dark World, Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, and Avengers Infinity War. This is why, by the way, Thor Dark World has a prominent part in the time travel sequence of Endgame, because these two were the guys that wrote Dark World, which is arguably the worst Marvel film ever made. The writers were told they were able to kill any character they wanted to. This movie was composed by Alan Silvestri. This is why Back to the Future is mocked in a handful of the scenes, because Silvestri also famously composed the Back to the Future trilogy. A collective superhero movie is a movie where several people serve as one protagonist. The two characters that have the largest arcs in the movie are Iron Man and Captain America, followed by Black Widow, Hulk, Thor, and Hawkeye. Elements of a superhero film. Number 1, involve individuals with superhuman abilities. Number 2, usually feature action, fantasy, or science fiction elements. Number 3, usually based on a comic book or graphic novel. This is the second most expensive movie ever made after Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, which comes in at $379 million. So this is number 2. Number 3 is Age of Ultron, Avengers Age of Ultron, which came in at 369 mil. And number 4 is Avengers Infinity War, which came in at $316 million. This is the first film in history to be shot entirely on digital IMAX cameras. Highest Thursday opening night at 60 million, most pre-ordered film in history. First film to hit 1 billion in 3 days. 14 VFX companies worked on this film. Over 3,000 visual effects shots. Parts of Endgame were shot at the same time as Infinity War during a 200-day shoot. This was also shot at the same time as Ant-Man 2 and Captain Marvel. Highest grossing films of all time. Number 1 is Avengers Endgame at $2.796 billion. Number 2 is James Cameron's Blue Alien, Avatar, not the Last Airbender one, at $2.789 billion. 3 is Titanic at $2.1 billion. Number 4 is Star Wars Force Awakens at $2.068 billion. Number 5 is Infinity War at just over $2 billion. Jurassic World at 6. Lion King at 7. The Avengers, 2012, the first Avengers film, was $1.51 billion. Screen time per character. The character with the most screen time is Captain America at 1 hour and 6 minutes. Iron Man has 1 hour and 2 minutes. Star Trek The Next Generation was a huge inspiration for the film's use of time travel, which is probably why it makes no sense. Iron Man's Mark 85 armor in the film is intended to look like his comic book Mark II armor. The movie was based heavily on 1998's Avengers Forever. The final fight with Thanos was inspired by the 1968 Western Once Upon a Time in the West, which this shot below is directly referenced when the 3 big characters walk out to fight Thanos in the final act. It was also based on 1984's Secret Wars. You can see on the cover right there, Hulk holding up the mountain. That exact scene happens in the movie. 2011's Fear Itself, and 2015's A-Force, which is the all-female Avengers team. Iron Man number 55, 1973, was the first appearance of Thanos. In his first appearance, he had a vehicle called the Thanos Copter. The Thanos Copter, by the way, is referenced in the film. In Thanos' weapon, which is designed to look like helicopter blades. Jim Starlin, the creator of Thanos, has a cameo during the Survivors group scene early on in the film. Thanos' name comes from the Greek word Thanatos, which means death. Josh Brolin acted with a Thanos foam headpiece so that Thanos' scale was retained and helped actors, as he was acting, to place their eyes. Because remember, Thanos is like 8, 9 feet tall. The only actor to get the entire script was Robert Downey Jr. The quantum suits were entirely CG. This was done due to time constraints. They didn't finish the costumes in time of filming the scene. Captain Marvel was only used for limited scenes because her power set caused problems for the writers. The problem was she was too powerful, meaning she could very quickly solve many of the film's story hurdles. Also, Brie Larson was cast late, so they had no clue about how her chemistry would work on screen with the other seasoned Marvel actors. They tried to balance it between it not being a cameo and her not being a Deus Ex Machina character, meaning being too powerful that she was essentially a god. Marvel hadn't been shot yet, so the writers had to leave her power set and power limit ambiguous. This is the same thing that happened with Black Panther during Infinity War. The Hawkeye scene that opens up Endgame was originally the very last scene in Infinity War. It would have been the scene that the movie went to credits on, but it was removed from Infinity War and put to the beginning of Endgame because if you think about it, Hawkeye wasn't in Infinity War at all. So it would have been very odd to cut to Hawkeye only to kill off his family, okay, and then cut to credits, all right? So it was brought to the beginning of Endgame pretty much to like recap to the audience in a kind of an organic way what had happened to the heroes at the end of the last movie. The fake fat suit that Chris Hemsworth wore in the film weighed 88 pounds, so it really wasn't too much of acting on his part in terms of actually feeling obese, because it actually was really heavy. The entire Vormir section of the film was reshot. Originally, and in the Vormir section, when Hawkeye and Black Widow were trying to recover the Soul Stone, Captain Marvel originally was involved in these sequences, as well as a huge set-piece fight scene with Thanos' army on Vormir. Okay, this was all changed because when this scene was in originally, it took away the emotional impact of what was going to happen to Black Widow later on in the scene. The directors wanted it more intimate, and less awkward. So they ended up changing it. Captain Marvel was cut out of the scene, and you got even less of Captain Marvel in the movie because of this. There are 36 named heroes that appear in the final battle. Originally, at the very end of the film, Stark would have been brought inside of the Soul Stone in the same way that Thanos was at the end of Infinity War, where he met the little girl version of Gamora. Now, Stark would have met an older teenage version of his daughter, Morgan, played by 13 Reasons Why, Catherine Langford. But the scene was removed because when they tested this scene with audiences, the audiences didn't understand what the hell was going on in this scene. Okay? Remember, when you go inside of the Soul Stone, you tend to see the person that you love the most in the version of them that you see in your head. So Thanos always saw Gamora as a girl, a little girl, which is why she was a little girl in the Vision and the Soul Stone, versus Stark always saw his daughter as more intelligent and smarter and older than she actually was, which is why he saw her as a teenager version. But again, this made no sense to an audience. You would have had to have somebody explaining this to you in the movie, which they couldn't do organically, so it ended up being cut out of the film. And finally, at the very end of the movie, the Captain America we meet at the end of the film is confirmed to be 106 years old. Now, this was done as a CG face swap, akin to how they did Paul Walker's face in Fast and Furious. I have an image up here of what the actual actor looked like, who was the body double of the shot, which was mixed with Chris Evans' actual face to get the shot. It was comped together. Chris Evans had prosthetics on, and they comped the two shots into the shot we got in the film. It looks really, really, really good. Okay, again, guys, if you have any questions on the PowerPoint or the making of the movie, just email me. Again, I'll see you guys in class. If you have any questions about the assignment, email me or refer to the project on Google Classroom. See you in class.